Dear Mr. A&R, we all struggling artists. Realize the world is cold, but we came here to spark it. Swimming little guppies in a sea full of sharks. It's gonna take a miracle to not end up hard.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Inside the Six with Ian and Thomas.
Hello.
We're back. We took a little hiatus. We had some stuff going on personally.
It's over.
Just ignore that. We'll just leave that. And international break happened, which sucks, but kind of is cool. I don't know. I like watching international games, but we don't get coverage of any of the international games.
For some reason, in our area, they're only on like the super high-end premium sports channels that I don't think anybody subscribes to. But anyway, there's that.
Yeah, we're back.
Shady.
And had some really good games this week.
Yeah, it was fun.
Some disappointing games in the eyes of some. But we'll start off with the first game. We'll go with Brighton Leicester. That was a really good game. I'm almost disappointed it ended in a draw. I mean, either team could have come out with a win there. Vardy got a penalty. Vardy, I mean, isn't going to miss a penalty, especially in that situation. He was able to pull out a goal for Leicester and get a point, canceling out Glenn Murray's early goal. But
there were a lot of chances on both sides. I mean, it was, considering it's a 1-1 scoreline, it was actually a really open game. I mean, it was anybody's 3 points to take.
And I think
didn't do it.
And I think that's the same thing with almost every match that we watched this week. A lot of teams this week just kind of struggled to finish. I think Crystal Palace in general was probably the worst. We'll go over that in a second.
Yeah.
But moving on to Everton Cardiff. I mean, it was the same thing. I mean, a lot of chances from each side.
Cardiff really played really well against Everton. I mean, Everton, I think, is finally starting to get their form back. They got their new manager. That guy. Who's from Watford, right? Is that where he came from?
Marco Silva?
Yeah. That's him. And I think since he's kind of taken the reins at Everton, I think they're starting to get the all 8 cylinders pumping again.
And Gylfi Sigurdsson's back on form as well.
Yeah.
As shown by his goal, which was Gylfi Sigurdsson style filthy.
Yeah, it was absolutely gross, man.
He's probably one of the most underrated players in Europe, and I say that with confidence. He is. I mean, he's an excellent free kick taker. He's excellent in the midfield, or even playing up top.
He's ice cold.
And he finishes balls with no mercy.
Yeah.
But he kind of struggled in the past couple, I guess almost like a year, since he moved to Everton. And he's finally starting to get back on form, which is really good to see. Because I enjoy watching Gylfi Sigurdsson. So it was a fantastic goal from him. But like you said, that game easily could have been a draw.
Or gone Cardiff's way.
Yeah.
I mean, they played really well. And I think maybe they're starting to finally settle into life in the Premier League. Hopefully. I mean, we're getting close to the halfway mark, but hopefully they can start turning something around.
But Everton's not mid-table like they have been in the past couple seasons. They're finally in where they need to be. They're in 6th place right now, which is where they need to be.
Right.
They're a top team in the league. They need to be up at the top. So it's good to see that they are. Fulham came to play.
That was a really fun game to watch. Any game that has 5 goals in it is going to be entertaining. That's for everybody. You watch soccer. For the ball handling skills and stuff like that. But everybody wants to see goals. And with 5 goals, it was a really fun match. And that was it was a 1-1 draw. Then it was a 2-2 draw. I think that's how the game went, if I remember correctly. It was a really entertaining game. And it's good to see, Fulham with
Actually, Fulham didn't take the lead until Mitrovic's goal in the 63rd minute, and that was it.
That's right. Yep.
No, sorry, they did take the lead. They took the lead with Andre Schürrle's goal.
That's the one. Yeah, that was the one.
And that was, holy crap, that was dirty.
Yeah, that was dirty too.
I'm not a big fan of Andre Schürrle. He didn't really perform when he was at Chelsea. I don't think he's really ever been that good of a player. I think he's just... He knows what he needs to do. You know, he's got the brain for it. I don't think he has the skill for it. He just gets lucky a lot.
It's kind of like me. Except he gets luckier more.
Yeah, he's also getting paid a lot.
Well, it's because he's luckier.
But he's not a terrible player. Like I said, he knows what he needs to do. It's just a matter of doing it. And he's not always consistent, which is...
That's a big thing, is the consistency.
Yeah.
But that was a fantastic match to watch. It was really fun. And you mentioned the Crystal Palace. You know, Crystal Palace at Old Trafford. When I watched that match, I thought for sure Palace was going to pull it off. I thought for sure they were going to end Jose Mourinho's run at Old Trafford and finish him off. They just never found the back of the net. I think a lot of it is they weigh heavily on Will Zaha, and just over and over and over. And I'm not knocking him at all.
No.
He's a really good player.
The fact that he's still at Palace is honestly surprising.
I
he could go to a much higher team.
I agree.
But maybe he enjoys it there.
Yeah,
you know?
he might be having fun, in that side of London. But I mean, that match. I mean, every time they carried the ball down, I was like, "This is it. This is the one."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, come on, man! Yeah, and it just never came together for him. Now, United not finishing, honestly, didn't surprise me terribly.
That's what you get when you have Lukaku up front.
Yeah, and I think was it you shared a stat with me that he had like 7 touches or something like that.
Romelu Lukaku had the least amount of touches out of any player, outfield player that played 90 minutes. And he had 20 touches total in 90 minutes.
Wow.
Come on. I mean,
and that's a center forward.
Exactly. I mean, as a manager, you've got to be able to notice, that stat, maybe not the specific number, but see that he's not getting touches and take him off. Get somebody like Jesse Lingard on.
No kidding.
I mean, anybody. I mean, you've got. I mean, I know United has some strikers.
Well, and I think there's a one-armed guy who cleans the bathrooms at Old Trafford who could probably do a little bit more.
I mean,
than Romelu Lukaku. And back in the day, Romelu Lukaku was a force to be reckoned with. I mean, Timmy Howard used to call him the game changer. When he played at Everton, and it's honestly not the case any longer.
I think he just hasn't found his stride at United.
Well,
at the beginning of the 2 seasons he's been there.
I think so. I think this is his second.
At the beginning of both of the seasons, he's had a really good run of 3 or 4 games, and then he just falls off, and it lasts the entire season. I mean, he plays really well for Belgium. I mean, maybe he's not happy at Old Trafford.
Who knows?
But I mean, like I said, I mean, Mourinho's got to be able to notice stuff like that and put somebody else on. I mean, you've got Jesse Lingard, you've got Fred. I mean, those 2 are technically midfielders, but I mean, they can play strikers if they need to. I guarantee it. Or move Anthony Martial into the center and put those out wide.
Absolutely.
I mean,
I think that's a great idea.
Anthony Martial had a really good game. He was off target. It happens. You have bad games as a striker, but he's been on good form recently. Unlike Lukaku, who's just
straight trash.
I mean, basically. Yeah.
I'm gonna say it.
I don't know. We'll see. But that game ended 0-0. Which I mean, it was kind of disappointing, like you said.
Yeah,
I really expected
score.
Palace to win that. Wayne Hennessy had a really good game. In fact, he was given man of the match by FotMob. He had a lot of really good saves.
He did have a great game.
I think he was pivotal in keeping Palace in it, giving them a chance to win. Obviously, he has no control over goal scoring. But other than that, really good game. And Liverpool Watford, just kind of as you would expect it to go. Watford had a really good start to the season, and they're still playing decent. But going up against a team like Liverpool,
Watford had a good first half. I mean, it was actually a pretty good half for them. I mean, they went into the locker room at the halftime 0-0, which is pretty substantial. I mean, Liverpool's not. I mean, I'm a Liverpool supporter, and I'm going to say this out loud. They're not the most dangerous team, in the league. No, they're devastating, especially on a counterattack, and they've got Mo Salah's getting back in form. Bobby Firmino's playing in a little bit of a different role right now, so he's I think he's still trying to catch up a little bit. But when you got kids like Andy Robertson making runs, they're pretty devastating. But they're not the most dangerous team. And when you can go in at halftime and say you held Liverpool to a 0-0 draw, you did pretty good. And then three pretty brutal unanswered goals in the second half, and it's one of those things like with Palace, they weigh really heavily on Will Zaha. Watford's really depending a lot on Gerard Deulofeu, who's doing well. I mean, he's doing what he needs to do. He's fast. He's got a really quick football brain. And he's got a lot of skill.
Well, and Troy Deeney as well. He had a terrible game.
He did not have a good game. I think he had a minimal amount of touches.
Yeah.
We talk about Lukaku with the minimal touches. I think that's where Troy Deeney kind of got stuck. And again, as a center forward, you want guys who are willing to maybe drop a little deeper if you have to get some touches, maybe open things up a little bit more.
And here's this. This is the same. It gives me the same facts about Troy Deeney. He had the least touches of any outfield player to play 90 minutes, and it was 29. He had 9 more touches than Lukaku did. But he had 0 shots.
Yeah, I don't remember him taking a shot.
I mean, he's a striker. He's got to be able to take shots. If you play 90 minutes as a striker and get 0 shots on goal, you didn't do your job. And maybe that was your team not giving you the chances. But I mean, you got to be able to work with your team, how they're playing, especially when you're playing against a team like Liverpool, and change up your style a bit. You can't just expect your team to form around you. You got to kind of form around your team.
Right, and especially with Liverpool, with their defense, is pretty strong right now. I mean, it's back in. I'm going to compare this. This is probably a little bit of a better defense than even with Martin Skirtle and Daniel Agger and guys like that. It's a pretty strong defense, So and they did their job and they shut Troy Deeney down. But like you said, he's got to adapt to that, and maybe do something different, drop a little bit deeper so he can get in behind on a run or something. I don't know.
I mean, and when you got a player like Virgil van Dijk in the back, you're already going up against a brick wall. I mean, adding Dejan Lovren and then two youngsters, Alexander Arnold and Robertson.
Yeah. I
mean, you're just adding layers to the bricks. I mean, it's a solid defense.
Yeah.
And it's working for them this season. They're playing really well. They've been on really good form. But
they're still one of 2 teams undefeated right now.
Speaking of undefeated teams, City just ran right through West Ham like it was nothing, as City continues to do.
And that's what Manchester City does. I mean, they're a giant freaking katana sword and it's just
basically
hack their way through everybody. Just paper thin slices even. It's ridiculous. They are so much fun to watch. They really are. Like I said, I'm a Liverpool supporter, but I enjoy watching City. Just because, I mean, it's just like, are you kidding me? I mean, where do these... I don't know. I mean, I guess, 20 years of, playing soccer for these guys, I mean, it is where it comes from. But, You know, David Silva. I mean, he's still in top form. You know, I mean, he's absolutely incisive. He's devastatingly so.
Sergio
Aguero is back on top.
Leroy Sané is still on top.
Yeah.
It is literally a destructive force of absolute power. It's ridiculous.
The team bond between these guys has to be absolutely insane, because the way they play, I mean, they're having fun. I mean, these guys, it's 11 guys who are out there hanging out together, is really what it comes down to. I mean, they're having that much fun. You know, and Leroy Sané, like you said, I mean, he's a young kid, and this kid's got so much talent, and knows how to use it. And it's brutal to watch. It's really enjoyable. But yeah, they rip through, you know, West Ham.
See, 3 goals in the first 34 minutes. So I mean, they went into halftime 3 up. And the second half, you know, I'm sure they just passed around. They gave Phil Foden a chance to come on. Riyad Mahrez came on late, and Gabriel Jesus came on late. And Leroy Sané got his second goal of the game in the 90th +3, just as an added kicker. It's destructive. Right now, I don't see any way to stop City.
No.
It's too much. It's ridiculous.
No, if they don't win the league again this year, I will be absolutely flabbergasted. I will. You know, I'd love to see Liverpool pull it off, but I don't think they can. I don't think they can stop City. I really don't. I don't think anybody can stop City. Especially not in Premier League. You know, they're just. I mean, if you look at the stats on FotMob, you know, I'm looking at the game, the match facts, and on the West Ham side, it's literally just 2 minutes added at the end of the first half. Their 3 subs. 2 minutes added at the end of the 90th. Those are the match facts for West Ham United. They have absolutely nothing to tell you.
They showed up to a City shooting practice.
You know, I mean, but you know they've got struggles of their own right now. They're not a terrible team.
No, I mean they're you know, I think they're the top of the table, right? Or not top of the table. No, they're not. I thought they were higher up in the table. But
no, they got 12 points from 13 matches. So yeah, they're 14th place. So I mean, they're not in a relegation fight yet. But with 7 losses out of 13, you know, that's less than a 500 season. So
yeah,
they're gonna have to change that if they don't want to be in a relegation scrap the second half of the season. And second half of the season's coming up like soon.
Mm-hmm. How many games away are we?
Well, we're 13, so we got 26 left.
Yeah. 6 weeks away from second half of the season. It's crazy.
Yep.
I guess we'll move on to the Tottenham-Chelsea game.
Okay.
I don't really want to talk about this one.
Well, there were 3 teams going into week 13 that were undefeated, and coming out of week 13, there are 2.
Yeah.
And one of them's not Chelsea.
And they didn't deserve it. They played like absolute garbage. And it was honestly disappointing. I mean, when they asked Eden Hazard, you know, what happened, I was like, he basically said, it's obvious. We played terribly. I mean, that's just what it is. And Tottenham came in, as Miley Cyrus would say, like a wrecking ball. It was
a big win for Tottenham.
It was. Especially against a team like Chelsea, who were undefeated. I mean, it was 3 amazing goals. I can't knock Tottenham. It was a good win for them. Absolutely deserved. They were definitely the better team. And Chelsea played like garbage.
And what it did, like I said, it was a big win for Tottenham because it allowed them to move into 3rd place.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, they're still 3 points behind Liverpool, who are only 2 points out of 1st place. So I mean, I don't see anybody taking the City down. So I think that's going to probably stay pretty similar to that for a while. But with the Tottenham win, moving them into third place. That's huge for them. It's been a while since they've been there. I mean, they've always played fairly well, and they've stayed in the top half of the table. They've had their struggles here and there, but I think they're capable at this point of making a pretty solid run. Winning the league, no, I don't see it. Like I said before, I don't see anybody but City winning the league at this point. I don't know how you stop Manchester City. I mean, that machine is invincible at this point. But kind of disappointing for Chelsea. It's kind of cool going into week 14. Would have been cool with 3 teams undefeated still, which I think is a record for top flight football in England. I think 11 was the record.
Yeah, they've been breaking it.
Yeah,
after week.
Yeah. So with 2 teams undefeated who at this point haven't faced each other yet.
Yes, they have.
Have they?
Yeah, with a
have?
draw.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, my bad.
It should have been a City win, but Riyad Mahrez got a penalty.
Yeah, Riyad Mahrez, and rumor has it it's still rising.
No, it's in orbit around the moon right now.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that was the Saturday games. It was a lot of goals. Well, actually, not many goals, but I mean, it was a lot of really good games. A lot of really good battles between some lower teams. A lot of really good fights from lower teams against higher table teams. And it shows. This week definitely showed what the league was like this season. It showed how much battle there is between teams like Crystal Palace and United, who are on totally opposite ends of the spectrum of the table. Crystal Palace is in 16th, and United's in 7th. I mean, and it was a 0-0 draw. That's just really good football.
Yeah.
But one team who's been really stepping up this season is Arsenal.
Yeah.
As you may have figured out if you watch the rest of our videos, we don't like Arsenal. But I don't hate them this season because they're playing really good football.
Yeah, they are.
Unai Emery, I've said it over and over again, has taken this team from Arsene Wenger and turned it into a halfway decent team.
He's gotten them back to the Arsenal of old, as people would say. That quote unquote force to be reckoned with. Back to the Kings of London. Kind of reputation. They don't have the Manchester City vibe going. They're not tearing through teams, but they're not taking any crap either. They've got some players I don't mind watching. I like Hector Bellerin. I think he's a good. I think he's a good fullback. And he's a good player for the team. I mean, he's good. I think he's a good football player. He said they've got some players. My biggest problem with Arsenal before, and this is neither here nor there. This is just my stupid opinion. Is Olivier Giroud. He makes me gag. It's just, I don't know. I've never met the guy. I have no idea what he's like personally. He just seems like a douchebag. But he's probably not. He's probably a really cool guy. I just remember years ago there was almost a scandal because he got caught making out with someone else in an elevator that wasn't his wife or something like that. I don't know. But I mean, you said we don't like Chelsea, and that's true. Or I mean, we don't like Arsenal, and that's true. Freud was right.
Do you see this flag or the scarf? That's my scarf.
Freud was right. We always say what we mean. I can't tell you why I don't like Arsenal. They give me the heebie-jeebies or something. Anyway, but they are playing really well this season. Unai Emery injected a new bit of excitement back into Arsenal. He's got the team, working together, playing well together, and enjoying themselves.
Well, I mean, and when you take players like Aubameyang, Urzo, Lacazette, Mkhitaryan, um, and they actually start playing together, it's a good team.
Yeah.
Those are really good players. They just have to play together, and they finally are. They weren't mending under Arsene Wenger, but and they finally are now, and it's showing.
Yeah, and I think Mkhitaryan, when he left Manchester United and came to Arsenal, I think it was a really good move for him. He's starting to I mean, he's going to be a powerful player, and one of those kind of sleepy players that people don't think about. But he's going to be there, game in, game out, and he's going to make you suffer, which makes him a good player, because he's not one of those ones where you're like, oh crap, I forgot about him, and then there he is, with really good service. I mean, he's got a solid finish, and I think he's come into his own at Arsenal, and they're playing really well. They beat Bournemouth 2-1 at the Vitality Stadium.
And Bournemouth aren't playing terribly this season. I think they're 8th right now.
They are.
So I mean, it goes to show how well Arsenal's doing. They're not struggling against lower league teams. They're not dropping unnecessary points. They're keeping everything they can to make sure that that they're fighting for a Champions League spot. They're fighting to try and win the title if they can. Like you said, I don't think it'll happen, but they're gonna fight for it, which is obviously what we want to see. It's gonna produce better football.
Oh yeah. That's a point I was making to one of my teammates the other night. She was talking about she likes the Premier League, and she's like, I hate the lower table games. I was like, oh, those are the ones to watch, man. I mean, those are the ones that, they have nothing to lose. And when you have a relegation scrap, when you've got a match coming up, like between Fulham and Cardiff, or Southampton and Cardiff, or whatever,
like Huddersfield and Wolves,
or week. Yeah, when you have a match like that, it gets scrappy, and and that's when it's one of those situations where just that one moment of brilliance, that one magical touch, means everything. And to me, that's really exciting. That's one of the things I really enjoy about the promotion relegation system, is every single match counts. You get toward the end of the season, you're 35 games into the season, you only have 3 games left. You kind of know, at that point, who's going to win the league. Last season, we knew after like 10 games that it was Manchester City. But when you get to late in the season, you realize, okay, City's going to win the season. Let's see who's relegated. And now it gets really exciting, because every single point matters that much more,
because they're that close.
Yeah.
There's like 3 or 4 points separating 20th and like probably not 12th, but like 20th and 15th.
Well, you figure, the bottom 3 all have 8 points. So every team in the relegation zone right now is tied on points. It's goal differential that separates them at this point. And then 17th place, Burnley, has 9 points. And so,
just to show you how important it is, with the Wolves-Huddersfield game this week, Huddersfield won 2-0. 2 fantastic goals from Aaron Moy. Yeah.
Who doesn't score goals.
No. Huddersfield went from inside the relegation zone to 15th or 16th.
Yep, 15th.
They went from, I believe they were 19th before this game. They jumped up 4 points with a win. Or four places with a win. That's how important it is. And Huddersfield absolutely deserved that win. They were by far the better team. Wolves had a really good game.
Yeah, not taking anything from Wolverhampton.
It was honestly surprising. A lot of the commentators were stating how Wolves had a terrible game.
No,
I wasn't seeing that.
I wasn't either. They played well. They had chances.
They weren't finishing.
Just didn't happen for them. So.
That was probably my favorite game of the week.
I'll agree with that. That was a pretty exciting match. Between that one and the Fulham Southampton game, That was fun too.
But last game of the week, Burnley Newcastle. It was a good game. Newcastle came out 2-1 on top, but it wasn't.
Burnley's struggling a little bit more this season than they did last season.
They got knocked out of Europa League before group stages even started. They got knocked out in the qualifications. But they're nowhere near where they were last season.
Yeah. I think they'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
They're a resilient team, and it's it's like I was saying before. They're one of those scrappy teams. They don't have a problem. I mean, just they go out and for 90 minutes they leave everything they have on the pitch, and they're that's fun for me to watch. When you've got 11 guys out there who will just leave everything they have in order to do as well as they can. I think they'll be okay. They're right outside the relegation zone right now, and I think they'll be all right. I mean, if not, Sean Dyche knows how to get. He knows how to get a win out of his guys. He's shown that in the past. I don't think he's having any problems right now. So, but still, we're not even halfway there. We'll see. See how it goes.
And that's it for the Premier League this week. Got a little bit of news. Champions League is back. We'll be going over that next week. And one of the biggest news to come out was the Copa Libertadores final has been postponed again.
Oh, I didn't know again.
Yes, this is the second time it's happened. The second leg of the final has been postponed. It will be now played December 8th. And it will be at a neutral location now. River Plate fans attacked the Boca Juniors bus. And the day of the final, Boca Juniors came out and said, we think you should postpone this final so you can investigate River Plate. And CONMEBOL says, yeah, we should do that. So they postponed it. And they have come to the decision that now both teams and both sets of fans have to travel to a neutral location so that it is even and fair and there's no
danger. Hopefully there's less danger.
And actually, speaking of danger, I actually saw a video recently of a mother strapping flares onto her child's stomach to sneak them into the stadium. That's how crazy football is in South America. It's insanity.
Well, I mean, yeah.
But
I love football, but I'm not gonna strap flares to myself
just to show
or anybody else.
Just to show you how big that game is, Boca Juniors held a training session, an open training session, to get fans in the stadium. And usually, when that happens, you got a couple thousand fans there. It's not like a full stadium or anything. No, when they did this training session, they were quite literally packed. They had tifos, they had flags.
That's amazing. I love that.
At a training session. But all the hype of this game should live up. The first leg was 2-2 draw. So we'll just have to wait and see now. But that's all I have for this week.
I really don't have anything else. There were apparently some talks of Liverpool owners, Fenway Sports Group. Apparently there was rumors that they were talking about taking bids for the team. But apparently there was a spokesperson for the Reds that has categorically denied any intention of selling Liverpool Football Club. They've invested a ton of money in that club just in the last couple of seasons. They've owned it for 8 or 9 years now, and they've invested a ton of money. And I think it'd be silly for them to sell it right now because they probably wouldn't get their money back just yet. They just finished a new main stand, and they did that without raising ticket prices because they tried to do that and there was a fan revolt because apparently they were promised that wouldn't happen and then they tried it. But anyway. So for the time being, Liverpool Football Club will remain a possession of Fenway Sports Group. In other words, Sox Nation. Ain't no Yankees fans in this house. But that's really all I saw that was really noteworthy or discussion worthy.
You want to take us out then?
I will take us out. Thanks for tuning in to Inside the Six with Ian and Thomas, or Thomas and Ian, however you want to do that. And special thanks to our good friend Macrophonic MC, who allows us to use his music for the intro and outro. We really, 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 really encourage you to check out his music. The links are there, or there, wherever Thomas puts them.
They're there.
They're there. So check out the links to his music. He's really a talented guy. He's a really good guy. He's a good family dude. And he's been a longtime friend of ours. We really enjoy his friendship. We appreciate him letting us do that. Special thanks to Thomas, who does our editing and production and most of our, that's a lie. He does all of everything. I sit here and talk for 30 minutes and then he does everything else. So thanks to Thomas for that. And check out the t-shirt shop, where you can get t-shirts and phone cases and aprons and probably coffee mugs and everything else with our shiny happy faces on them. Go check that stuff out. Share it with your friends. Click the like button, click follow, hit subscribe, the bell, all that stuff so you get notifications. We try to do this once a week. Sometimes things go on and we don't get to do that. For the next foreseeable amount of time, there shouldn't be any hiccups.
Because there's no more international break for a long time.
And all the personal stuff that we've had going on is starting to kind of calm down a little bit. But we appreciate you guys being here. Let us know in the comments what you want to see. Let us know in the comments what you don't want to see. Be nice, because we won't engage jerks. And share everything with your friends. Tell your friends if you're a Premier League fan or just a fan of the game. Check us out. We appreciate you guys being here. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
See y'all later.
Dear Mr. A&R, we all struggling artists. Realize the world is cold, but we came here to spark it. Swimming little guppies in a sea full of sharks. It's gonna take a miracle to not end up